Hello everyone, this is Josh from Scissor Wrenches, and behind me, hidden in my shop, poking its head out, is my 1995 Zx7. Now you guys may not immediately recognize this bike, but if you've been watching my channel for at any amount of time, my outro, the bike that's revving, is actually this motorcycle right here. This is the first street bike I've really had. I grew up on dirt bikes. My mother had a YZ 250F or whatever the like street faring dirt bike 250cc was in 2011, 2010. I rode that for a little bit after I got my license, after I did all the certifications, everything like that. But this is the first bike I bought for myself. Now this thing may not look like much, but this thing does have a clean and clear title, 20,601 miles, and a lot of new parts on it. Like these tires are basically new. The cooling system is new because the guy I bought it from bought out of insurance auction. A guy was riding it, hit a deer, completely tore up the fairing, the radiator, all that fun stuff. He had all the mechanical things redone, put new tires on it, stuff like that. Never got around to making it look super pretty. Started riding it, then he got busy with his work. It sat in his garage for 2 to 3 years. The carburetors got gummed up. He didn't want it anymore, and he sold it to me for $750. Now I brought it home, got the carburetors cleaned up. It wasn't just perfect because I had to separate all the carburetors apart, and that made them completely out of sync. Every single rubber gasket in these carburetors were completely junk. The O-rings, the float bowls, everything like that was just completely junk from the new gas that just got moisture in it and rotted it all out. So it was running. It wasn't running, like I said, perfect. If you really got onto it, it bogged. If you had certain throttle levels, it bogged, but certain throttle levels, it actually rode okay. And I just got some saddle time in it, enjoyed the ride for a little bit when it was nice. This was about a year and a half ago now. It wasn't this summer, but it was right before it turned winter on the winter before this one. So like end of the year 2023. And while I got it running and driving, like I said, and it started to cool off a little bit, I found a guy around town that said, hey, I could do a tune-up on that for you. I've got the gauges and everything to resync the carburetors. I've got, tuning gauges. I've got AFR stuff. I can, put it on the exhaust, make sure it's running at the exact perfect air-to-fuel ratio, all that fun stuff. I said, cool, that's awesome. I dropped it off with him. And all he ever did was make it worse. He actually ended up leaving it just like this outside when it rained, so it got water down the carb. Into the motor. It was completely hydrolocked when I picked it up, and I was angry then. I told him basically, lose my number, don't contact me again. And well, it got thrown back, and I collected a bunch of other motorcycles, and it basically got forgotten about. But with how nice it is outside here recently, it's like 75 degrees right now, I want to be able to ride this thing. So I ordered basically all the parts I'm going to need, apart from spark plug leads. I had one of them break. I need to figure out if I can make something or something like that, because these things are apparently unobtainium. Nobody makes them, not even cheap Chinese knockoffs anymore. But I'm going to get this thing running and driving again. We're going to go back through the carburetors, fix them up. I've got to clean up the gas tank because it does have some rust in it. Give it a tune. Make it pretty again because it's covered in dirt and oil and just sludge and crap. Maybe secure the fenders a little bit. Tighten up my wiring a little bit. The fuel pump harness was all junk. It was all corroded, so I just ran my own little thing right here just off of a switch. Just turn off and on the fuel pump as I please. And I know for a fact the choke circuit doesn't work too well. I believe the cable's all stretched out, so I'm going to have to adjust that, make the choke system on this thing actually work. But apart from the normal things of undoing neglect on a bike that's been sitting for a while, I don't have much to do. Like I said, this thing ran and drove fine. It's got basically new tires on it. It has a whole new cooling system applied to it. I did get oil filter, things like that. I'll do basically some preventative maintenance on it. But other than that, apart from just getting the gas tank and the carburetors cleaned up, this thing should fire right up and be pretty darn nice to ride. And well, without further ado, let me quit yapping and we'll get into it here. Let's start by cleaning out the gas tank. Alrighty, well, first things first, we're gonna have to get the rust and everything out of this tank. As you guys can see, it is not super pretty on the inside of there. It's not horribly bad by any means. I don't expect any holes in the tank once I get the rust out of it, but it is enough where if I leave that in there, whenever I rebuild the carbs, it's going to gum them immediately right back up. So I have some vinegar, some baking powder, some tin foil and stuff like that to plug the holes and everything like that so it doesn't immediately leak all back out. So I'm going to fill this thing full of vinegar and then water, leave it sit for 24 to 48 hours, and then I'm going to take it all out, drain it. That should clean up the tank, and then we'll use baking soda, dump that in there, put water and everything like that in there to neutralize it, and that should seal it and stop any more of that vinegar eating any of the metal or anything like that, because the vinegar will eat old rusty metal. But if you leave it completely activated, it will actually slowly eat through the rest of the metal, so we don't want that. Alrighty, and just like that, got tin foil and zip ties holding all the ports and everything like that, so it's not going to leak out. I'm going to flip it over now, fill it up with vinegar like I said, and then the rest of the way with water. And then we'll pick this up in a couple days, and then I'll fill it full of baking powder. All right, this is after one day. It's definitely eating some rust. That's exactly what I want to see. We'll pick this up tomorrow. See the color of the water, all the goop that's coming out of it. Yummy. Glug, 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 glug. All right, everyone, this is the day after I drained that. You can actually see the difference in the rocks that were in the flow versus weren't in the flow. It actually looks very nice in there. Very, very nice. There's a few little itty bitty spots left, but that looks so much better than what it was when we started. So much better than what it was. I'm gonna rinse this thing out, shake it around a little bit, try to get some of them flakes out of there, and then take the little things off the top or off the bottom, the little fuel, the little caps off I have for the fuel things, let them all drain out, let all that gunk drain out of there, and then, well, that's the gas tank done. It's sealed up, it's ready to go. Yeah, look at that. That's beautifully clean. That's what I wanted to see. Now that that's out of the way, got the gas tank cleaned, I am in the process of redoing my backyard for my dogs. I love them to death, but they decided to eat through my wooden fence. So right now they're walled off in the back of my shop, so I don't have a lot of room to work, but I've got enough room to get this thing at least running. So if you guys hear dogs whining in the background, that's those glorious little butt heads back there decided to eat my fence. And they're stuck back there until I can get up to Des Moines to get some fence supplies and redo that. But let's pop off these carburetors now. Like I said, I did rebuild them, but with how ugly that gas tank was, I'm wondering if a little bit of dirt or something didn't get into these things. So I'm gonna take them out, look into the float bowls on them, make sure they're not too bad. Just like I said, just kind of go through them. Then I will hook them up to my gauges, and I will make sure they're all linked up. I bought the gauges, you know, to sync them all up. They go off a vacuum. You hook them all up, and you make sure all the dials are, you know, synced up. You don't want this thing getting a lot more air than this cylinder. That's going to make it run all weird. So let's get that figured out right now. All right, now if I'm correct in my assumption, this should. There we go. Yep. And let's just take off this last, I think that's the fuel line right there. Pop that off. All right. There we go. We got all that off, and now, come on now. Come on. No, my idle speed thing is stuck. There we go. See, that's what we're after. These pretty carburetors. Whoop! Oh yeah. Yeah, that right there is, you guys can't see it, but that gas is legitimately like orange. Yeah. See, that's what I was worried about. Ugly gas getting into these carburetors. So let's bring this thing inside and start digging and see how bad it really is. This is what new gas does to your stuff, man. This is why everybody hates new gas. Ugh, man. Not bueno. Not bueno one bit. All right, well, just like that, carburetors are back in one piece. They are cleaned up, no more gunk and debris and everything like that in the fuel reservoirs. So now the next step is hooking these things up right here on the fuel inlet to a little fuel pump, just to make sure none of these things leak. I always like doing that before putting them back on the bikes, because it does suck whenever you put it all back on the bike and realize you have a little leak, you forgot to tighten this, you forgot to do that, yada, 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 and you have to pull it all back off before you can get it on the bike and running and everything like that. So like I said, we're just gonna hook up this little nozzle right here to a little fuel canister with the fuel pump on it and make sure we have no leaks. already got a float leaking. Why is that? This right here is a certified do as I say, not as I do type moment. I thought, you know what, these carburetors probably are all right. They look fine. Threw them back on the bike, only to realize that as soon as I hooked up fuel to it, it immediately started leaking. So I had to rip them all back off, fix the leak, and then put them all back on. So do as I say, not as I do. Test your carburetors before you put them back on the bike. It's a lot easier fixing them off the bike than it is putting them on the bike, realizing you have a problem, pulling them back off to fix it, then putting them back on the bike again. So, like I said, do as I say, not as I do right here. Alrighty, the next step in this process is to change this oil. And to do that, well, I've got to take apart some of this beautiful cladding this thing's got going on. This thing already is pretty broken up, so it's fairly easy to get to what I need to get to, but I still do need to take at least this side off to get under there to get to the oil filter. So. I bet I know why I can't see it. I bet it's so clean that I'm just not used to it. Yeah, I'd say that's full right there. Now that the oil's dealt with, I know I've got fresh in there. We can hook up a fuel system to this thing and actually hear it run. Alrighty, as you guys can hear, it is not sounding amazing. I had to take the muffler off of it because when the water and everything got down this motor, I filled basically everything full of transmission fluid. There was a little bit left in the muffler and the exhaust and everything like that. Pulled that off of there and got it running, but it still wasn't super happy. So I sat there for a little bit, tuned it, got everything working right, and I got it to sound like this. All right, right, well, off camera, I put a lot of other things back together. I secured this fender a little bit better with some zip ties and things like that. Put the gas tank back on it, put the exhaust back on it, you know, got my seats and everything back on there. Duct tape my fuel door shut because this thing is completely tore up. I need a new fuel door. This thing just will not open, and when it does, it just doesn't really fully open, so I have to sit there and jiggle with it for like 10 minutes. So I took off the ring to actually get to it so I could take it off, and then duct taped it shut so it does seal like this, but it is running off of its own fuel system. I'll show you guys a clip here. And well, problem is well, it's raining now, and it's not raining lightly. It's been raining all day. You can see a big old puddle there in front of my shop. So guess we're not gonna take it out for a ride, and this video is already super long anyways. So I'm gonna end this one here. Without further ado, this was Josh from Risks and Wrenches fixing up my 1995 ZX7. Now, if you guys like this type of content, let me know, because I have that bike, I have that bike, I have a bunch of bikes over there that I need to work on, and oh my goodness, it's coming down really bad outside right now. Probably can hear it on the roof of my shop, but I have a bunch of bikes that I do need to fix up, and I plan to here on this channel. Let me know what you guys want to see first. I have a 1981 XS 1100, I have that 01 or 02 ZZR 1200, I have that Honda, I have a couple CX Hondas back there, CX 500s. I have a bunch of different things. Let me know what you guys want to see here on this channel. Now, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you guys disliked it, dislike it. Let me know what I can do better in the comments. I have a bunch of things I plan to work on here in this channel. It'll be a day, night, whatever it is. I hope you guys are having a great one. I'll play you guys out with some footage I have of last year when this thing was actually running and I took it on a little bit of a rip. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bye-bye. Want to be the guy that, you know, filmed random children without their consent. That'd probably put me on a watch list somewhere.